Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Iowa Math Chat. In this series, we're going to be looking at the Coherence Map, and this is episode 1 in part 1, the math standards within and across the grades. Now, on the slide deck, when you click on this, it's going to open the Coherence Map for you, and I went ahead and already had that opened up. And so you'll see right on the Get Started page here that there's some things that it calls out that the coherence map can be used for. So it's good for linking together concepts, identifying gaps in student knowledge, because you can trace it backwards through something known a little bit as back mapping. And it really helps us to visualize and understand how these standards are all related. And it's more, I would say, kind of like a tree that's on the side, like a decision tree almost. And it has a forward flow to it, but it's not linear, saying that each standard aren't lined all up together, kind of like a train would be, right? Freight cars on a train, they're not like that. So you'll also see where it says how the concepts are not isolated concepts. So there's this real connectedness that we need to tend to in educating students about mathematics. So we're going to hit Get Started, and you'll see that when you click the Get Started, we're broken up by grade levels, and then down here on the bottom, high schools by a grade band. So we're going to start our exploration by going into kindergarten, and you'll see that it breaks it up into the 5 domains. Now, previously we learned in the focus document series that we wouldn't just take our instructional time and divide it by 5 and say each of these gets the same equal amount of time. So what we want to do is really use that focus documents to decide what the major clusters are and where to spend that instructional time. Let's go ahead and look at this first domain in kindergarten, counting and cardinality. And you'll see that when we go into there, it shows us that this is a major cluster. So this corresponds to those green boxes from the focus document. We see that there are 3 standards in this cluster. We can see that there's another cluster, a different one. And how many standards? There's 2 standards in this cluster. And then we have a third cluster, which contains the last 2 standards. So then I can go back up and I can select the standard here. So I'm going to tell it to map the standard. And when I do that, you'll see that this other box shows up here. And what you'll want to do is to explore the map. And as we go into here, it says the magnifying glass minimizes and expands the card to explore the map. So we're going to hit next. And this talks about the arrows. So if I have a standard going from A to B that's connected by an arrow, what that says is that if a student is trying to learn B and they haven't really learned A, they might struggle learning B. It doesn't mean that A always has to come directly before B, or that B, the second standard, has to come directly after A, that first standard. What it's saying is that if you're finding that a student is struggling, then it may be helpful to go back and do some just-in-time scaffolding. And then the dashed lines show us standards that are related. And so we're going to hit finish. And then what you're going to see is this magnifying glass that I spoke of, and I'm going to select that. And you'll see that it zoomed out on the map. I got this little locator, like you are here, we're looking at this standard. And so you'll see those arrows and those dashed lines. The last thing that I'm going to show you on here is notice how we get this crosshair icon. And so we can, if we hold down our left mouse and drag that around, you can change your view. So that's it for this Iowa Math Chat. And I hope that you found this helpful and that you will join me for the next Iowa Math Chat, where we'll continue to look at how this is organized and how it can help us with students.